For Mark Halperin, a TV veteran who's built an innovative platform called Two-Way, it was a major scoop.
I got a text from a very nice source who said, "You want to call me?" And it turns out that three different people, the original source and two others, have confirmed that the plan now by the White House is to remove the National Security Advisor, Mike Waltz.
I spoke to him earlier from New York. Mark Halperin, welcome.
Good to be here, Howard. Thank you.
Your sources are so well trained, they just call you up and give you stuff?
Well, it's one of the benefits of getting old, is I've known folks for a long time. And yeah, as you know, sometimes it's shoe leather, Freedom of Information Act requests, long nights pouring through databases. And sometimes you just get a text that say, "Call me, I got a story for you."
So explain how Two-Way works, and did you build it to be different than typical cable news segments?
Yeah. So Two-Way, the name tells you our main differentiator. We believe we can revolutionize media by turning what is now one-way, concerts, books, cable news, Substack. It's all one way. It's the creator talking to the audience, and you might see a response in a chat. But we believe live video that's participatory, that builds authentic community around conversations on politics, sports, music, whatever it is a whole different kind of media. So that's the big differentiator, is the community gets to participate by asking questions, making comments. But we also have long conversations. Our shows are typically an hour or more. And we have, on YouTube, we have an average view time of 20 minutes. So this is not TikTok. This is not 20 seconds. These are long, sophisticated conversations. There are long, sophisticated conversations some places on cable, but it's not the norm.
I can't disagree with you on that. So you also have a show called Next Up. And for example, you said the other day that Democrats lack ideas, unlike somebody like Bill Clinton. How does the Next Up show work?
So Next Up is separate from Two-Way. Two-Way is where I'm the editor-in-chief, and that's the company I'm helping to build with my colleagues. Next Up is a twice-a-week program that's not live, that's not Two-Way. It's an old-fashioned one-way video podcast that, as part of the Megyn Kelly Network, Megyn has started her own umbrella brand, and so that show is an interview program, panel. I do monologues, so it's still me, and it's still available on YouTube. But that's a video podcast. That's a more traditional one-way thing, not a live program, no audience participation the way Two-Way is.
But you use the phrase "reported monologues," which I find fascinating.
Yeah, it's something that I think I'm not the only one who's ever done them, but I'm not just out there giving you my opinion. I'm a reporter and an analyst. I'm not an opinion pontificator. I'm not a partisan. I'm someone who's trying to help the country by holding all powerful interests accountable to the public interest and explaining things regardless of who might be hurt or helped by my explanation. So this week, for instance, I interviewed the Secretary of the Veterans Department, Doug Collins. I had a conversation about Joe Biden's appearance on the View, and then my reported monologue was, after talking to a lot of Democrats, I said, "What are the questions you think the party needs to have honest conversation about? What are the things that aren't being discussed?" The ultimate one is, why is Donald Trump popular with so many Americans? But another one is, why did Bobby Kennedy leave the Democratic Party?
Well, since you brought up Joe Biden going on The View, that was something that you tackled. Everybody's saying he's trying to salvage his reputation now. You had a different take. Let's roll it.
Biden Inc. has collapsed. All those Biden grandkids had a lavish lifestyle, which they very much like. The trough is empty. The spigot has shut down. They need a way to get back in the game to make big money, to have the grandchildren fed and clothed and flown first class, etc.
What led you to that conclusion?
I was talking to someone who's been a very close understander of and connector with the Biden family for many years. And this person said, "Mark, it's hiding in plain sight. Even if you don't think that Joe Biden broke any laws or any ethical guidelines by helping his son and his brothers make money, there's no doubt that the documentation is quite clear. The ability of the Biden family to make a lot of money was predicated on their dad, their brother being a senator, a vice president, a presidential candidate, and a president. And that's over now. And so, and of course, Hunter Biden, who made money as a fixer, as someone on corporate boards, as a deal maker, and then as an artist, those things are going to be a lot harder for him to do now. And of course, as you know, in court documents, he's he said, I'm not being able to make the money. I don't have the earning potential I used to have. There are a lot of mouths to feed in that family.
Here's more of my conversation with Two-Way founder Mark Halperin. Republicans, as you know, and this includes Donald Trump, say the media are horribly biased. How do you try to make sure that that complaint can't be lobbed at you?
So Two-Way is not just political programming. We've started with political program, but we have programs in development that will be on soon about how to raise your dog, about how to have good mental health, about business. But on our political programming, we've been really careful to say we're for all voices under one roof. There's some media that says, we want to be centrist or moderate or independent, and we welcome those voices to Two-Way. But we want people, and we have people on the far left and on the far right. And when I get complaints from someone watches an episode of Two-Way and they say, oh, you put on this person, they were so wrong, I couldn't disagree with them more. What I say is, don't complain, listen, learn. It's an opportunity to have all voices under one roof and to say, wow, I just heard from somebody who I disagree with. One of the most heartening moments for me in the history of Two-Way was when a woman came on in January, shortly before the inauguration, and she said, I voted for Kamala Harris. And I've been on this platform for months listening to sane, rational, thoughtful people explain why they like Donald Trump. And unlike my friends who are, going through emotional hell, I'm okay.
Boy, if you're doing segments on dogs, you are planning on taking over the world. Finally, Mark, when you're juggling things, is it much harder than being a broadcast or a cable analyst for a major corporation with the big infrastructure?
Well, I mean, some days it is. There's no commissary, and there are certain things. There's certain things that you don't have in independent media. But I'm enjoying building a company. I'm enjoying working with my colleagues to do something that we think will revolutionize media and make a big difference. And if there were still such a thing as faxing, I'd be fine doing my own faxing. But digital age, not just in terms of the programming, but in terms of how you do things, right? There are things that I can do for myself: make travel reservations, contact sources, book guests on shows. I can do all that on my iPhone. I don't need, as I had in old media, a lot of colleagues helping. I have colleagues and we work together, but you can do things with far fewer people, far less infrastructure now to build things like Two-Way, to do video podcasts like Next Up, and I'm enjoying the freedom and the upsides and the lack of constraints that people in old media have still far too often.
I remember faxing. Mark Halperin, thanks very much for joining us.
Good to see you, Howie. Thank you.
Hey everyone, I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kaylee McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.